are watching the BOP, the BLERD official podcast. Oh my gosh! I am so excited about today's episode. We are talking about Doctor Strange, and I could not do that without all my friends, without all my Marvel buddies, because you guys know how much these movies mean to me. Guys, I want to introduce my co-host, Hilton George. How you doing?
Oh, I could not be better. I am just so happy that we get a chance to talk about this movie. It was so new. It was so different. It was just everything that I ever thought it was going to be, plus more. And I'm just looking forward to talking about it with you and a certain someone who has joined us.
A certain someone, yes.
I don't know who it could be.
We will tell you. I mean, obviously you guys can see him, but Christi Renee, how are you doing? How
awesome.
Is life?
Oh, life is lovely. I am excited to be here as well. I echo Hilton's sentiments. We have a super guest today. And this is our first guest on the show. So it's exciting.
Yes.
And I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about this movie. I should have taken notes.
Yes. I need to watch it. I feel like I need to watch it 2 more times. Guys, no further ado, one of my besties in life. I love him. We talk Marvel. I mean, we've wasted hours and hours and hours of our life talking about Marvel, but it's because we love it so much.
Valuable time.
Is in the house. You guys know him as Zordon Papa Z. You are our first guest co-host.
Wow, I'm very humbled. I am very humbled to be the first guest. That is awesome.
Yes. Well, I couldn't talk about Marvel without you. I mean, we literally will wake up an extra hour early before Comic-Con just so we can meet for breakfast and we can discuss Marvel. We can just break it down. David and I are writing partners. We're good friends. We're former co-stars. But you guys know, we had been waiting and waiting and waiting to get a glimpse of the multiverse. We got some of it in Spider-Man, and so we knew that Doctor Strange was gonna crack the egg and it was all gonna come spilling out. We knew we were gonna get a taste of it. And I'm not gonna lie, when I first got in the movie, I was and the first thing that I was my first impression of the movie is I liked it. I liked it. There were some things I was kind of I was in my feelings about Wanda, her emotional ass. Wanda, it needs to be in timeout. She needs to be in timeout because she acts like she's the only person who's ever lost somebody. Every time we see Wanda, she is reeling in her emotions. But then I sat and thought about it because Wanda was always supposed to be, if she's the Scarlet Witch, she's always supposed to have been bad. She's always supposed to have been troubled. So after I got over being mad at her, I really sat into the film and I really started to really be entertained by it. I was surprised by a lot of things, but I want to get our overall impression. We're going to take the deep dive. So if you guys have not watched Doctor Strange, then you better get to a theater. You better go somewhere and come back. You can watch another episode, but today we're going to talk about everything. So all the spoilers. But Hilton, give me your initial reaction. You and I have been waiting for the multiverse for 5 years now. What was your thought? What was your overall thought of the movie?
Well, we got to remember that this director, Sam Raimi, has a very, very distinct horror background in movie making. And you're looking at Evil Dead, Drag Me to Hell, as well as Spider-Man 2, one of my favorite Spider-Man movies of all time. And so he has shown the adeptness in storytelling and the opportunity for him to be able to bring his talent and everything together with, in horror, with a movie that is comic book based, was just a joy to watch. And I didn't expect for Wanda to be the villain because none of the promos really spelled out, what was going on. So the movie, the first viewing will surprise you in a way because, you didn't think she's the big bad, but she's the big bad. And there was just some amazing storytelling tools put into play here. Some amazing acting, some amazing visuals, special effects. This idea of the multiverse and seeing it being played out on film with different characters who are one way in one universe and another way in another.
Yeah.
And then obviously the showing of the fans' deepest wishes for the entry of mutants and the Fantastic Four and everything. I mean, I tried not to stand up and cheer. I know I'm around Muggles, so they're not going to understand.
Right, they're not going to understand you,
so
Hilton.
I'm just going to
just blend in, Hilton. Blend
in. Just kind of bottle it up. But no, I really felt like it was a solid movie. It's very dense, as we often talk about.
Yes.
There's a lot to unpack. I saw it twice. And the second viewing is actually better.
I need to watch it twice. I need to really watch it like 3 or 4 times.
When you watch it twice, you're going to go, oh, I missed that. And like, oh, I didn't even see that part. Because there's so much happening.
Yeah, it's dead.
And yes. And I love that. I love that about Marvel movies. And I love it when movies do it in general. Because it's like a ham bone you just can keep chewing on and always get something out of it.
Right.
It's just there for you. So yeah.
It never gives up. It never gives up.
Absolutely.
Christi, you're fresh out of the theater. Like you like literally saw it this morning. You knew we were talking about it today. How did you feel? Like, what was just your overall impression? We'll dig deep in a second, but what was your overall impression?
Overall, y'all know I have said this before, even whether I've seen it or not, if it's Marvel, I love it. Right? So I loved it. I mean, I loved it. It was a lot. I made the joke of I really should have taken notes. Like I needed to write that down.
Yeah.
I think the key is I'm gonna have to watch it again and again. Like I still need to see Spider-Man, again. Because there was a lot in there, but I thoroughly enjoyed that. Now there were scenes where I jumped up and screamed, and shouted and cheered, in that one. Again, this was really interesting. We're gonna get to it, but I love it.
It's a different take. I love the elements of horror too, and I didn't think I would because I'm not a horror fan, but it was what was needed, So David, you are our first guest co-host. Give it to me. What was your initial reaction? Did you like the movie? What was it?
It made me angry.
Oh, what made you angry? That is a good reaction. Like, that surprised me because you're very calm, cool, and collected. So for you to get mad, I think I've seen you mad once.
I understand where my anger was coming from because, like Hilton, I wasn't expecting Wanda to be the big bad. From all of the promos and from having watched WandaVision, I had assumed it was going to be sort of a Wanda and Doctor Strange versus the multiverse kind of thing.
Right.
So when they made it very clear that Wanda was the villain, my initial reaction was to get very angry because
you liked her so much. I thought she was healed after the whole WandaVision. I thought when she was sitting there at that last scene, Wanda had turned a corner and realized how she hurt people. But it was like she had turned no corner.
Right. And I guess that was sort of like my. I was really kind of upset that they were sort of rehashing what they had already gone through with WandaVision and having to kind of dial into the whole idea that Wanda is supposed to destroy the universe. That's her role in everything. That
right.
When they get to that location with Wong, and there's a big stone engraving of her sitting on the throne, and
she's like, yeah, it's like she was like Jesus or something in that world. She's like on the, yeah.
They made her into like a Hellboy kind of thing, where destiny is to destroy the world, or whatever.
Yeah.
The other reason I was angry is like,
there's more reasons. No, I'm just like, go ahead.
You have Wanda, who is one of the most, if not one of the powerful figures in the Marvel universe, who is a woman, and then they make her the villain. I was very upset that they went down that road. It's like you have
right.
Every time you have a really extremely powerful woman, at some point they become unhinged, and I was like, why? And so I was
David.
And I was watching it. I enjoyed. My first initial thought was, oh, this is an Evil Dead movie.
Yes.
Right. It was kind of that.
When you look at the Evil Dead movies, they're about a bad book that is out to destroy the world. And here's
Necronomicon.
Yeah. David is like he's just unwrapping all of it for us. Go ahead, David.
I love Sam Raimi's techniques, the way he uses the camera. If you're a fan of his Spider-Man movies, if you go and look at the Dr. Octopus hospital scene, it is a straight out of a horror movie. The way that scene is shot, when he tears up the operating room and slings the doctors all over the place. It's horror. So I was also upset by the fact that after I'd seen it online, there was already a raging Twitter thing about people griping about the rating of the film. You know, the film was rated PG-13 and everybody thought it was R. And I was like,
that's not an R.
Yeah, that wasn't an R film. Like we've seen worse in Ozark. I'm
the mama of the crew where I say, even I would say, yeah, this is not an R-rated film by any stretch of the imagination.
I think a lot of people went in there expecting it was going to be, a typical Marvel movie, but heck, they decapitated Thanos. I mean,
hello.
Well, you know what they expected? They expected it to make you feel like Spider-Man felt. And one thing I loved is it didn't make me feel that way. Spider-Man had me, I was crying. I was hopeful. I was just I enjoyed seeing the different Spider-Mans from all the different, and for them coming together and working together. And it was such a fun and like really deeper movie than I expected it to be. But I was kind of glad that Doctor Strange, because this is not a character that I ever loved. Like, I didn't like the first Doctor Strange movie. I watched it, but it wasn't anything that moved me. Right. So for me, I enjoyed it. I just thought it was so good that it felt so different. And I was kind of happy that they're kind of going into the horror space and they're kind of going into these different lanes so that it's not so, Avengers and so Age of Ultron and so, which I love, but I feel like, as an audience, goer, we're growing up with the Marvel universe, and all of us have kind of taken a leap, and I kind of liked it. But you brought up a lot of good points. Hilton, you were like our Marvel expert, like hands down, and I saw you shaking your head like every time David would say something, because I agree with everything that David said. I agree with it.
Yes,
it didn't make me mad, but Wanda, it pissed me off that she was bad. Yeah.
Well, I was actually happy that she was the big bad, because if you think about all of the powerful entities that we knew were going to be in this movie, a number of Doctor Stranges, i.e. Sorcerer Supreme, you have Professor X, we have the Fantastic Four, we have the Illuminati, which is an amazing vessel to kind of introduce these characters, outside of reality 616 that the MCU is played in. But the thing is that the Darkhold is the key. The Darkhold is a corrupting book. So at the end of WandaVision, she had kind of resolved and come to, this peace with her suffering. And that's why the Hex fell. And that's why she released the town and de-res, if you will, the imaginary vision and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But then she started messing with the Darkhold. And you saw that in the post-credits at the end of WandaVision. And the Darkhold started showing her realities where her kids were real, even though they were made up out of magic in the reality that she was in, and started corrupting her, which kind of led her down this path, which is why they had to kill the Doctor Strange of World 838, like they showed, because he had been messing with the Darkhold, he had gotten corrupted, and he ended up destroying a whole universe, messing around, doing what he wasn't supposed to do. What I thought was the most interesting way of empowering this character and giving her a sense of permanence is that she did so much horrible stuff in this movie.
Yeah, she did.
She mowed down like everybody.
The whole like what if was like you're bye. Like they didn't even have a fight. It was like bye. Like it was so quick.
David, you the thing that really got me was that you had this reveal of the Illuminati, and the biggest reveal, like we kind of knew through the previews that Professor X was going to show, but we didn't know we were going to get Reed Richards, who was one of my favorite characters in the comic books. I just followed all the Fantastic Four growing up, so I was just so happy to see that the fan casting was given, and he had about 8 minutes of screen time before he was murdered. and I think that was kind of like Kevin Feige's way of going, okay, we're listening, but we're not really listening. We're going to give you here, just take it, shut up, and now can we move on with the story? And I was like, oh my God, like this is so it definitely shocked me that one, like you said, Wanda was the big bad. And I want to say this, and maybe David is the only person I think in the room that might agree with me on this. Because of the delay of the merging or the purchase of the Sony properties and the Fox properties, which it brings in all the mutants and everything, they were not able to tell the Phoenix Force story that they would have wanted to tell starting 10 years ago. So the Scarlet Witch story has kind of substituted in that Phoenix Force, kind of storyline where you have this all-consuming, all-corrupting entity that lives within the body of a mutant, or in this case, Wanda, that is just an existential cosmic energy that is all-powerful and all omnipotent, et cetera, that everyone has to try to come together to stop. And initially, they completely underestimate her power, and she has the threat to destroy or enslave the entire, universe or multiverse. And I was like, this is the story that they would have told if 8 years ago they had gotten the rights to the X-Men, but they never got it. So they said, you know what? We're going to let the Scarlet Witch kind of throw her into that arc. And now I think they have demonstrated the level of power that she has, and they're going to do some stuff with it going forward in Phase 4.
Also, in the original timeline or the whatever you want to call it, this movie was supposed to come out before WandaVision. So
wow,
I think when I think about it that way, that might have alleviated my initial anger about the whole thing, because
I love that you were angry.
And I know where that anger comes from. It comes from a fact that we've lost Natasha. We've lost Tony. We've lost Cap. We've lost Odin. We've lost Frigga. We've lost.
Dang, we lost a lot of people.
We've
lost T'Challa. We don't know that we've lost him, but we're gonna lose him. Yeah.
So I know that portion of that anger is just me going, let me keep one. Let me keep.
It's a selfish anger.
And I understand that actors, they have a life and they want to do other things, but do I still want to see a Chris Evans Captain Roger, Cap movie? Yes, I do. But
we would never not want to see that.
What I had to remember, and what I wish they had used, and to go back to something that Hilton was saying, that I think I've only seen the movie once, but I think it's at least 3 times that Wanda says, "I'm not a monster," and then proves that she is.
Yeah.
But there's a line in the original Doctor Strange movie that I wish they would have used in this one. The lesson that Doctor Strange learns in the Doctor Strange movie is, when the Ancient One turns to him and says, "It's not about you." And that's a sentence that Wanda could use to hear, because I do agree with what Karen said at the top, that get out of your emotions. You're not the only person that's lost somebody. And even though since, when Wanda first showed up, she was a villain at the beginning.
Yeah.
And, I really hate the fact that they use the trope of you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. I felt that was again, it was like the Darkhold. It was a very simplistic, very comic book way of explaining motivations for stuff. It's not Wanda it's the Darkhold. And again, I understand, you know, from a writer's standpoint, how do you deal with somebody as powerful as Wanda Maximoff? They kind of hinted at it in the Illuminati scene, which, by the way, I really want to grab the marketing and advertising guys and punch them in the face and say, stop teasing stuff like that in the trailers. If we had gone into the movie with no idea that the Illuminati,
that they would even be there,
lost their mind. They would have gone insane about that.
Well, it would have been, even though it was a very bad secret kept, they kept the secret that, you know, all the different Spider-Mans were coming. We had no, like, we heard, we thought, but nobody had, nobody had full proof that this was going to happen. And you're right about that. But one thing I did appreciate that they did keep her being bad a secret, because they made us think that this other version of Doctor Strange was the big bad. Like the way that they set that up. Yeah, they made me think. So when Wanda was like, you know, she's in that field or wherever, and she goes, you know, it's not. Yeah, and she was like, it's not, you know, it was never the magic. It was all the lies I had to tell. And the world just like turns to hell. And I'm like, like I was screaming. I was like, Wanda, do not tell me that we're still here with you. Do not tell me, because I'm going to go over there and slap the shit out of you, because you acted like I was like, Wanda, but I will say this goes to her as an actress. My initial reaction, I was mad, but man, she played the villain. Like, there was a time when she's like walking and she's like, I mean, she was like walking through that thing and blood is on her. And I was just like, this girl is like, she's scary. She's like intriguing. She's intense. She's everything you would want out of a horror villain. And it's coming from someone I just fell in love with on WandaVision. Like, I just found all this, like I told you guys before, I think I've said in another episode, I was never a huge Wanda fan. But I thought of you, Christi, because when this movie, I was like, I had no idea that this was going to be a horror film. I mean, I knew the director played in horror, and I was like thinking, when Christi sees this, she is going to love it. She is going to love, like, there were jump scares in there. I mean, there was all kinds of cool horror stuff, you know?
It was good. And honestly, now, this is pretty funny. I'm glad you thought of me, but
you love horror movies.
I didn't even classify it as a horror movie. I thought it was dark. I mean, it has the dark, and just kind of how Batman was dark.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. And honestly, they pulled in Batman, they pulled a minor Michael Myers movie for a second with the shadow of the face. I was more
They Michael Myers us for sure.
I was more scared by that than I was WandaVision. Doctor Strange, because this really was a Wanda movie, felt like. But no, and I just want to comment, I guess, on the Wanda being the big bad. The interesting part was what I loved about how they, again, transitioned this character from start to finish, that she still had compassion. I thought it was clever how they made her see herself, well, really through the eyes of the children and how they were going to see her.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great way. It wasn't like this. They did have fight scenes, but it wasn't like she had to be, she kind of almost, self-destructed, I guess.
Well, they broke her when she realized that they were like, they were
the monster.
They were scared of her. Like, they were terrified by her. So,
And to see herself through their lenses. And I thought that was really important. And I could understand, I can relate. Like, she wanted that life and she just was ready to go. And it was all for those boys. So it wasn't like I'm trying to take over the world and be Dr. Evil. It wasn't that kind of monster.
Yeah.
It wasn't that kind of big bad to me. It was a different thing driven from her heart. I mean, in her mind, in her life, in her existence, it was a heart drive that made her want this power so she could just have those boys and be a mom.
You brought up something. You're bringing up a different layer. You're putting a different light on it for me, because you're right. Like, one thing we've learned through all of it is that Wanda loves so deeply. Like, her love for Vision was on another plane. She'd never felt anything like it. And her grief was out of this world, to the point where it was basically like all of this, even though they won the war and they beat Thanos and whatever, her grief, she was so stricken by grief, and no one ever stopped to say, you know, what is the aftermath of all of this? Like we lost some people, and she was I think her story, like WandaVision, that's why I loved it so much, because it was one of those, like, it was basically the aftermath, or it showed what the aftermath did to one of them, you know, someone who, you know, had really evolved from being bad to being good to really trying to help, had kind of grown up. She was a kid when we first met her, you know, and so she'd really grown up in this, and just the grief of it all, you know, and it's like, that was a real thread that they kind of inserted in there, that I felt made me connect to WandaVision, where I'd never connected to her character up until that point. But they did introduce, oh yes, go ahead.
Well, no, I was going to say that's something that Marvel has done really well, just across the board, is even the biggest of big bads all have a motivation that is not just cackling evil crazy,
right,
but it's coming from a certain place, either a philosophy or what they think is good. And they're, you know, what is good for the world. I mean, you go to Killmonger, you go to Thanos, you go to, I mean, even Mordo as a villain, you know, talking about balance. So
all your great villains think themselves as the hero.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
They all think they're the hero, and they cannot understand why you people are in my way. Just get out of my way so I can do what I'm trying to do. I will leave you alone.
That. Yeah.
So what is
she
the
was
problem?
like, I'm not trying to start no problems. Just let me get this girl so that I can get to the world where I can have everything I dreamed of. Like, why is that a problem? Why is that a problem? And he was like, Wanda, it's a problem. Like, you're going to kill this girl. Like, she couldn't even, like, you know, but that brings up the next thing I was going to bring up. We got a new character, America Chavez, which I loved. I thought she was amazing. And I just loved that they gave this kind of they gave this kind of power to a young kid. Like, it's almost like Wanda, like what Wanda had back in her day. Like, she was given something that she probably was too young to understand or too young to harness. And instead of her falling, like, where, you know, in Age of Ultron, where she fell into the bad category, you know, it was like she was actually surrounded by Doctor Strange and was like, look, let's help her harness this. And he helped her see the potential, that it wasn't just something she was cursed with. It was actually something that she could always control, and that it was something she was blessed with. And so I like that facet of the story. What did you guys think of the America Chavez character? Hilton, I'll let you go first.
Well, I mean, she is the flip side of this idea of the big bad being a woman. Is now the chief, most powerful protagonist is also a woman. And so you kind of had this dynamic of superpowers. And if you, in the comics, she is like really, really powerful. They didn't really get into how strong she is or how fast she is. And we'll probably see her develop those powers now that she's been introduced. But it was really interesting to see how they cast the character, how they introduced her, and how they gave and introduced her backstory, which is really interesting because she's a singular being in that she does not exist anywhere else in any other universe. So she can travel, unlike Doctor Strange or anyone else who might cause an incursion by going back and forth between universes. She can jump between universes without causing an incursion or causing any static, which is a unique power that she has. And I'm very interested to see how they tell the story. But to your point, remember you were saying earlier about how, you know, Doctor Strange, the quote of it not being about him, that comes up in this story where it's like but basically it was like, you always have to be holding the knife and you always have to be the one to make the play, and nobody else can, you know, that's where you're always going. So at the end of this movie, toward, you know, where he's zombie Strange and he has the option of taking her power and using it to contain Wanda, or trusting her to use the power, you know, herself. That's him realizing, wait a minute, it isn't all about me. I don't have to be the one holding the knife. I trust you to use the power. You know, basically he said it. Even when you thought you weren't in control of your power, every time you opened a portal, it was a portal to exactly where we needed to be. So you have this control, and I'm going to entrust you to do the right thing using your power. And that was that transitional moment for him, you know, that I thought was kind of like a weird, you know, kind of redemptive arc for somebody who, you know, had done so much stuff in other universes and all this sort of stuff. So yes, she is going to be doing big things. They got the Young Avengers is going to be coming out, and she is kind of one of the characters that will be a part of that. We've already seen the new Hawkeye. We've already met Patriot, who is the son of, well, when you watch Winter Soldier, Falcon and Winter Soldier, you'll meet him, Christi. So there's a lot of young characters that have already been introduced. There's Wanda's kids are somehow going to make their way into this team.
I thought that. I just felt that from
and, oh God,
she played too much in there. That
so they're going to be in there somehow. So there's going to be a Young Avengers team that's going to come together, and that's going to be a series coming up, probably 2023. And we're meeting one of the big, powerful people who are going to be a part of that. So I'm super excited. It was very well cast. The actress was amazing, and I loved it. I loved her being in it.
Yeah, Christi, what did you think?
I loved her. I loved, you know, that she's, you know, I'm not sure what her nationality is, but again, it was. We have that, whether it's Hispanic or Latin.
I think she's Latin.
I'm not sure.
But her last name is Gomez, so I'm pretty sure she's of Latin. So she's either Mexican. She's something. She's Latin. Yeah, Latina. Latina.
Yeah, we don't. You know, again, I just feel like this is the only universe that is more accurate in its diversity and its ability to be diverse, and not just diversity. They don't just diversify for the sake of diversifying. Ooh, you like that?
Right.
So they do it with purpose and with intent, and they gave her 2 moms, and it's like they're just kind of making things more realistic, I guess, in what our actual reality looks like. And so, I thought it was great. I thought she was great. I enjoyed her energy. A lot. So
right.
A lot of energy flowing through her.
I know. And we got Rachel McAdams back in this. So I mean, I've always loved her. Like, she's one of my favorite actresses ever since The Notebook. Like, she can do no wrong with me. So, David, what was your thought? Because, I mean, we've got a lot of new characters. We got a lot of throwback characters. We got a lot of, like, I almost felt like one thing I like that this, that Marvel always does is this movie especially kind of connected the dots where everything is not done like just to be doing it. Like, What If wasn't just to be doing it. It plays a part in the multiverse. So it's like, it almost was, I don't know, it just all kind of connected. How did you feel about all that?
I thought it was fine. I mean, it is one of the most comic book movies of the MCU. I mean, it is, it's dealing with a lot of information, a lot of different threads being brought together to tell this story, not just visually, but you know, from a psychological and from that kind of viewpoint, because they're drawing on all of the films since 2008 that have been leading up to this sort of, they're having to pull all of those threads and knit them all together. So it was a huge tapestry of stuff. Man, I have so many little points that I want to touch on, but I mean,
well, give us one, and we'll explore it. What was something that jumped out at you that you were like, okay, we got to talk about this? Give us one.
Well, it's part of that little bit of stuff that made me angry.
I love that he's angry. Like, he's really legit angry. Like, I love this. Because this is not an angry man. Like, this is cracking me up, but I love it. Because the rest of us were like, yeah, you're like, I was mad.
I really kind of had a frown on my face for most of the movie because
David.
And the fact that they kind of elevated Stephen's unrequited love story above Wanda's grief bothered me, because that's yet another trope that needs to go away. It's not always about the guys. And I know it's going to probably come across as
I love though you're such like David is definitely like you are one of the like you're an ally when it comes to feminine characters and you write them really well. We've written feminine characters together. Yeah.
This really powerful, beautiful woman, and that's how that works. Whatever. Yeah, I mean, America was awesome. I loved America. The conversation they had around. I love the fact that her favorite food is pizza. That in every universe, the conversation about Spider-Man and does his webbing come out of his butt. I thought that was
hysterical. I thought it was interesting though, David, that she didn't know about him. Isn't that different? Isn't that weird?
Well, I mean, people were bringing that up online too about did Doctor Strange's spell erase the it didn't just erase Peter Parker from people's memory. Did it erase the character of Spider-Man from people's memory?
Right, that's a good question.
I was really hoping that at the end of Far From Home, which debuted after the end of the Hawkeye TV series, that we would see Hawkeye and Kate Bishop at the final scene of Far From Home, where they see Peter Parker swing through the near the big Christmas tree, and they go, "Who the heck is that?" You know, I missed that. But I mean, I thought America was awesome.
Yeah.
My sister picked up on something that I didn't pick up on during the movie. Then she was like, "Oh man, all the symbolism about America and America reasserting its power." And I was like, "Oh, okay." You know, I mean, America's power manifests in this big white star, and her jacket has the stars and stripes on it, and so I missed that. One of the things that they established in Far From Home is that same characters from different universes look different, but in this movie, Wanda looks the same in every universe, and Doctor Strange looks the same in every universe. And I thought that was a missed opportunity, because one of my favorite members of Sam Raimi's stable of actors is Bruce Campbell, and Bruce Campbell.
Bruce is the best. That's a clown.
It was a missed opportunity because they should have had Bruce as the first Doctor Strange. Being chased with America through the beginning, that should have been Bruce Campbell, so that when we get undead Doctor Strange at the end, it's yet another callback to Army of Darkness.
Army of Darkness is one of the greatest films ever.
You're bringing up good points. I mean, I can't sit there and go, okay, no, I totally disagree with that. But Hilton, he brought up a lot of different things. What are your reactions to some of this? Because I mean, I was like, there were some people, like, it almost was like people love the movie, and then there was like maybe a small, minute, you know, and I saw you were arguing with some people online. And we're like,
I had words. I got words.
Hilton was going in on some people because he was like, you don't like movies then.
Yes.
People are just too picky, man. They get on my nerves. You know, it's like,
it's
certain, you don't have to like everything about every movie, but don't say like, oh, I don't like this one thing, so the whole movie sucked. And that's what a lot of people do.
They were,
yes. You know, it's a social media thing. But, but you know, first point is that Wanda Maximoff is a Nexus being, which means she's the same person in every universe. So we won't get an opportunity to see a different Wanda.
If they had brought that up, I would have been like, okay, I accept that.
Yeah, and I don't know that they spelled it out in WandaVision or not, but it was in the comic books, I know.
They talked about it in WandaVision, but they didn't mention it in the Doctor Strange movie. So I didn't immediately make that connection that she's in every universe, which means Stephen Strange a Nexus being as well.
He could be. I mean, remember, we only saw 2, so we only got the one that came across dead. And then we got the one that was in the one universe that died. Yeah, the haunted universe. So to be fair, we only saw 2. So there may be one out there, but maybe they, maybe they were just like, is this another budget line item we need to do? But the fact that they did get our boy, they did get our boy as Mr. Pizza. Or Mr. Pizza Ball, and then his hand attacking him, which is a throwback to the Evil Dead.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
Up for 3 weeks. A lot of people didn't get that reference. I'm laughing my ass off in the theater. People are like, he's just hitting himself. Why are you laughing? I'm like, You know, and I'm always the
Army
guy
of
that's got to
Darkness.
stop myself from braining people in the middle of the movie. Like, well, you see, Sam Raimi, he directed this film, and then like the movie's going on, like, shut up, like, oh, sorry, and, you know. So,
I loved the very tag scene, which was a callback not only to Evil Dead but also to Ferris Bueller. I thought that was fantastic.
oh, which one? Which one?
The very end tag scene where Bruce is like, "It's over."
Yes, exactly.
Yes,
the
I didn't even
other
put that
thing
together.
The other thing I wanted to note was that, you know, the horror elements in there were tropes. For anyone who's like a real horror fan, there are horror tropes in this that have never been in a superhero movie. That, you know, like, one, jump scares, and there were some. Two, you know, the throwback to Carrie. You know, this idea, because it's not blood. It's the fluid from the Ultron sentries that she's wearing, because she killed all of them, and it's just on her. And she's got a cut, and she's walking through glass, so now she's got this little limp. You know, limp going on, and her eyes are glowing. So it's kind of a throwback to Carrie with a little wink and nod to the zombie Wanda from What If. And she's like right behind them, and they're running, but not quite fast enough. And she's just like busting through these doors as these big portcullis doors are coming down, and we're like, run! Oh my God, she's right on you, you know.
Right.
And it's so blatant, you know, that you enjoy it, because you know that Sam Raimi is sitting on the other side of the camera saying, I gotta give him some Carrie, I gotta give him some, you know, Evil Dead, I gotta give her some Army of Darkness, I gotta give him some Drag Me to Hell.
In there too.
And it just worked. Now, the scene that made it for me, and I don't want this episode to go without us making note of this.
Yes, please give it to us.
He possesses the body, the corpse of his counterpart from another universe that he had buried in World 616, in order to kind of save the day, and it is attacked by the souls of the damned, and it is a Rachel McAdams character. Who's basically saying, listen, these are spirits. You're the master of the mystic arts. Do something. And he's like, oh. And you can see him kind of like, oh, yeah. And he's just doing this amazing. Only thing I could think of watching him casting the spells in this amazing makeup CGI corpse zombie that he is like Michael Jackson in Thriller. Like, he's almost pop rocking to get, you know, and he's got these, and he's turning his head, and he's got like half his face is gone like Jonah Hex. And I'm just like, oh my God, I just love everything about it. And then when he turns the evil spirits and demons into a makeshift cloak and uses it to fly across the way, I was losing it. I was just like, oh my God. So visually, the special effects, the score, the angles of the shots, you know, the close up, you know, just use of all of those spaces is just a visual effect I don't think we've seen in any movie at all, Marvel or otherwise. So it was just a feast to watch that sequence. And again, I saw it twice. So I just really dug in. I knew when to focus. And if you look at anything about this movie, that's a pivotal moment. And this movie is very, very faithful to some of the storylines in the comics, although it's kind of patched in from different storylines. But they really went all the way in with this. They did not have to do that. They did not have to go this direction. They have gone very safe. The Russo brothers are known for being safe, staying on script, keeping the story in canon and all this stuff. Sam Raimi was like, hey, how about them go through have them bust through a reality where everyone's made of paint. How about that? Can we do that? Yeah, you know.
I love the fact that Sam Raimi stamped you know, his style on the movie so hard that the same way that Taika did for Ragnarok. I mean, it's it's such a Sam Raimi movie, and that was awesome. I love that part of it. And again, you know, other horror tropes like The Exorcist being thrown out the window, and then the Omen tailed on the fence. I mean, all of that stuff. You know, in comic books, you know, we've seen how bloody superheroes and stuff can get. And, you know, if you watch The Boys on Amazon Prime, you're well aware of how horrible superheroes can be or whatever. But to see that, you know, I thought it was a visual feast. I was gobbling it up, even though I was like, the whole
he was mad. He was mad eating, like, just mad. David was just mad. I love this. I'm so glad you're here. Because this would have honestly been a love fest from start to finish with the three of us. And I just love the dynamic.
I thought I was going to be the harsh one because I was like, I was texting them before I could get out of the theater saying this was a lot. Like, I meant it in a critical kind of way. Like, this was almost too much. They just put so much stuff in here. I didn't know what to do. Well, you've shut me down. I don't even have. I can't say
you're fine. But you know what? I did feel like there was a lot, but I loved it. Like I almost felt like, and you know, you brought up something. You brought up Doctor Strange, and you brought up his love and all that stuff. Someone who was never a fan of Doctor Strange. Like I just have never. Like I don't know why, but that first movie didn't do it for me. I almost needed that. I almost needed to know that he was human and that he had loved and he had lost. And I almost needed to know that he wasn't just this arrogant guy who comes in the scenes and does this thing and he talks crap to, you know, Iron Man and, you know, he kind of looks down at everyone and, you know, and like he kind of like Iron Man made fun of him because he was so like almost like royalty regal kind of guy. So I almost needed that. I needed to know that he had a heart and that he had lost and then he was sitting at her wedding and was just like, what the hell did I do? Like, and then he goes into the different universes. He's like, I messed it up in all these other universes.
Yes,
like he just couldn't get it
where it worked out between them.
He didn't have where Wanda had this dream and she was like, there is a reality where I can, you know, have everything. He didn't have that reality. He just realized like, I'm the worst. Like, I'm the worst at love. So I don't know. It didn't bother me. I actually needed it.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, I love you in every universe isn't a diamond gem of a movie.
Oh, that was the line, right?
If you want to impress a girl, say that to her.
That's it. That was a great line.
That's it. You knew at that moment she was like, "How can I come to your universe without causing a problem?" Like that one was ready to go. She got her bags packed. She was like, "I want you bad."
I like that line as much as I liked Wanda's line. This is me being reasonable.
Wanda was like
so much threat and potential of violence in that line. I was like, yeah.
I think I held my breath through that whole piece. That exchange in that moment was so powerful. It was a lot. That was an intense moment. And I was like, oh, she is about to shut it down in here.
Yeah.
She was fierce. Let me laugh at this real quickly because I thought this was funny. And this was, y'all talked about the demons and all of that. What I thought was funny was when the two Doctor Stranges were talking and he referred to not the main Doctor Strange, but the other one. He referred to that house as a haunted house. And so when they go into having this music note battle, y'all, first of all, I was like, that is so corny. It was so funny though when the other Doctor Strange threw his notes back at him. It was the haunted house. It was I was like, who is behind this? I think they're all high and drunk right now and having a good time.
It was some good weed on the set, or in the writing room and the editing room. There was some good weed going around.
This is so hard out loud. Like, oh my God.
The funny thing about that scene is that I've actually had conversations with people who actually can read music and play music. There's a subtext in there, like the notes and some of the I don't know what the framework is, like the fact that this particular symbol is there to put notes in, being used as a block. It's like this double entendre for people who read and write music, or watching that, seeing like a whole separate layer to this thing. And I was like, I don't know the first thing about it. And they were explaining it to me and I still didn't get it. But he's like, oh man, it was perfect because this note goes into that, and it was a perfect block because this contains that, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, I'm glad you got it. But the fact that they put that level of thought into it,
they always do, though. That's the thing. They, even on the movies you don't really love, they always do. Because even, what is the one movie with Brie Larson? Like, I did not, Captain Marvel. I did not like it. I mean, but you need to watch it because Yeah, they did. You need to watch it because it really had some information that really kind of shows, all this stuff. You're right. I know. I need to watch it again. I need to give it another chance. I just wasn't feeling her.
if I hadn't loved, I think Captain Marvel like I did.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have realized that was her BFF. That was that was a Captain Marvel. I was like, oh, it's my girl.
Yeah.
I thought that was
well. Great. You know what it was with her? It was just, she's that dry delivery. Like it was just, and it's almost like, again, like an alien, like arrogant kind of thing. And for me, I just was like, oh my God, it just didn't translate for me, but I need to watch the movie again. That's the only one that I've been like mad at. I was like, David, like, I was in there mad.
My favorite line from, and I say it all the time whenever we watch the movie 1,000 times, every time it comes on, is when she says, when Peter Parker has the gauntlet or the hand, what is it called? Yeah,
Hi, Peter Parker.
And she
goes, you got something for me?
You got something for me?
Got something for me?
It with the movie because I'm one of those. I do a talk along. I do a
That was like a Pornhub intro. But he just kind of, and there's a meme that actually does that.
Christi's face. He did. He said a Pornhub. He said it.
There's an actual meme of that exchange where it's like, "Hi, I'm Peter Parker." She says, "You got something for me, Peter Parker?" And then you see the Pornhub, logo.
I don't have enough G-men in the house.
Oh my gosh. You know what though? I loved her in all of the Avenger movies. Like she was like that kind of thing worked in the crowd of all these other personalities. And like she had moments. Like I loved her in the Avenger movies. For some reason, her own movie, I just was like, I was going crazy.
They made a mistake with that movie in the timing because they didn't really introduce the Kree until the TV show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
So we didn't really get to see this Romanesque, imperialist, elitist society of war, mongers and, people, bumping for clout, amongst themselves. And, the fact that they were conquerors and they were enslavers and all that sort of stuff. And they were very much like the Roman Empire in that way. So that when she shows up on screen, because I was a big follower of the Kree storylines when I was reading comics. I knew that she was going to be a dick, and I knew that all of this. I knew all the Kree were basically being dicks, like they're dicks to each other. They barely laugh at each other's jokes. They're just like So when people saw her being a dick to Nick Fury, when she comes to Earth, people were kind of like, "Why is she being a dick?" And I'm like,
Christi she's gonna put us in timeout. She's gonna make us have a swear jar.
So I was ready for that. So I didn't get off-put by it because I was kind of like, oh, like any Kree would be doing that.
Mama.
Like that, So,
we're all grown, Mama. We can say bad words, Mom.
I wasn't ready. I didn't have a cocktail for today's show. Oh my God.
You always have to be prepared with a cocktail, Christi.
Yes. Oh. David, I love your insight on this. I love that it made you mad. Something inside of me, the little girl in me is so excited that something made David mad. I don't know.
Oh, I know where one part of that anger is coming from is because I really haven't connected with anything of Phase 4. Really, I mean, I've enjoyed all of the films. I thought Shang-Chi was awesome. Wasn't really a fan of the Eternals, so I sat through it because I wanted to see the connective tissue of what was going on with the MCU. Spider-Man is not my guy, but I love the fact that in other movies where Spider-Man doesn't show up, they always kind of like poke fun at him. The whole, does it come out of his butt? I think that's hilarious. But I did have a very emotional connection to the death of Aunt May in that movie.
I think that sent us all to we all were like, give me an IV. I need some help. Yeah.
As I was sitting there watching Doctor Strange, I got angry. I had the frown on my mouth, and I started thinking to myself, is this where I stopped watching the MCU? Because I stopped reading comic books when I was like 17 or 18. I never really collected them like from issue to issue throughout my childhood, but I read them enough that I was familiar with the characters. I knew what was going on and all that stuff. But sometime around the age of 17 or 18, I stopped reading comic books because I was doing other things with my life. I was, learning about acting and going to college and all that kind of stuff. But whenever I would go to an apartment and somebody would have comic books, I would pick them up and read them. And every time I did, I felt like, well, this isn't for me. I don't know who these characters are. I don't associate with them. So they're not for me. So I'm wondering if I've reached that point with the I'm going to continue to watch them because I think they're extremely, really well-crafted pieces of cinema. Even though I had problems with Doctor Strange, it's a gorgeous piece of film. It's
yes,
the techniques and everything, the story beats and stuff. I love that, and I'm really looking forward to Love and Thunder. I just want to see where everything is going to go.
Yeah,
Guardians 3, all that stuff. Ms. Marvel's coming up on the Disney series, and so I'm going to continue to watching them. But I'm wondering, have I crossed that threshold where I feel like this isn't for me anymore? And I'm really kind of sad about
David Fielding Jr. David Zordon Fielding Jr.
I'm just
get your ruler out, Christy. Get the ruler out because I think he needs some lashes. Don't you say that ever again out loud, David.
No, I'm just trying
you will not leave this roller coaster. You will not. You're not allowed. I was going to give you the Boogie with the Bear award, but I'm going to hold on to it until we win you back over.
Figure out why was I so upset? Why was I so angry about this? And I was the more I felt like, well, maybe this isn't for me anymore. And I understand that. Which is like
I need IV. I need an IV. I need an IV or I need a joint. I need something because this is like blowing my mind right now that he is saying this. I need somebody to come and wake me. I think we're in the multiverse. We're in the multiverse. Please, Hilton. Hilton, help us.
I think that what has happened with this movie is that it's come along at a time before, just like you were saying, Phase 4 has been hard established. If you think about Phase 1, we had this huge opening with Iron Man. We fell in love with Tony Stark and Iron Man and everything that could possibly come from it, even though at that point we knew nothing because they didn't really even start the MCU until the success of Iron Man. And then they kind of built outward. I think with the death, just like you were saying earlier, of so many characters and at least actors in roles of characters that are not going to necessarily continue on in the way we know, we don't have as many people to latch onto on any of the
a lot of new stuff.
Right. It's a lot of new stuff. And then you take someone like a Doctor Strange, which was not one of my favorites at all as a comic book character. I think he's perfectly cast. I think it's a well-written thing. But, I think that him leading in a movie in one of the first film, outings of Phase 4, there's people who were looking at the movie with no one to latch on to. And think about it. All the movies that we've had in Phase 2, Phase 3, in the lead up to all of the Infinity War stuff, we've had Black Panther, we've had
Cap,
we had Peter Parker, we've had Captain America, we've had Iron Man, and then all the characters that we have loved that orbit them and kind of we've been introduced to that kind of come along before we kind of come into this big climactic end of Phase 3, and now we're at this high. This is the biggest high that you would have for the MCU coming off of Endgame. And now you've got the TV shows, which are not as responsive to that. We're not really looking for that from the TV shows. But from the movies, we're waiting for that next same, big leap forward. And you have a movie that, it's got Wong. And there's a Minotaur at Carmitage. When did that happen? And so these are unfamiliar spaces that if this weren't an MCU movie, and it didn't have all this familiar characters that we kind of knew and we've sort of embraced, and it was some neutral, non-character, new introduction, and we could judge it right on its merits, I think we think differently of it. But we're bringing our own baggage into it, because all the stuff that made David mad, is stuff that is tied to stuff that happened back in Phase 3 and some of the shows that came right after.
You haven't gotten over your grief, David, from losing Captain America.
So I am confident that given time and maybe one or two more either TV shows, series, or movies, I think David will be back on board. I think as we start to weave in or unravel, whatever you want to look at it, Phase 4, I think there'll be more characters to fall in love with, and there'll be less, of that sense of, why are you doing this with the character I love?
That's the conclusion I came to, because, it's kind of like the Star Wars prequels. Obviously, those films were not made.
Yes.
But
exactly.
A whole show we could have on that, David. A
whole show.
Look, that's my category of don't get me started.
The conclusion I came to about why was I so upset about this movie, don't get me started on how they killed her with collapsing rocks on her. Same with Captain Marvel. Weakest way to go out forever. But I think
he is mad, y'all.
I don't think he's dead, by the way, but that's a whole other thing.
I don't think so either.
The conclusion I came to, I'm like, well, maybe this isn't for me. The conclusion I came to is like, well, it's not about you.
There you go. It's for the next generation to watch.
That Denzel point.
Where's the Denzel smile? Give me the smile and the point.
I don't have a mustache.
And I told him not to do that no more.
And she told me not to do it. She's got the ruler. She's got the ruler.
I'm throwing this all the way.
Oh my gosh, guys! I think we could talk about this all day. David, you have been an excellent addition to this. I am so glad you were here to talk about it, because it just threw things that I thought you would say, you didn't say, and the things that I'm gonna need some resuscitation after this, because
be reintroduced.
Yes, it's like, yes, I feel like we have, it's because we haven't seen each other in so long, David. I feel like that is why you are living on the edge right now. Because
no Karen in your life.
There's no Karen in your life the way it needs to be. I don't know how it became all about me, but we'll go with that. I'm going to reserve the Boogie of the Bear Award, and I will hold this tight when you come back to us in the Marvel Universe. And I'm going to get you some grief counseling, because you have not gotten over Cap. Cap is his favorite character, and he has not gotten over losing Cap.
I love the fact that Sam is Cap. Sam is awesome.
Yes.
And I can't wait for the next Captain America.
Well, that series did an amazing job. Yeah.
I'm watching all these movies by myself. I don't have anybody with me to go, so I'm like,
that's what it is.
Where's my character?
Hug the person next to you in the theater. They won't mind.
Yeah. I am flying to Dallas. The next movie that comes out, I'm flying to Dallas, and we're watching it together. I don't care what. I don't care where I am, what I'm doing.
In July.
Yes, he is in Dallas. Christi, Dallas.
Together?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Well, the next movie, if I can't make it, Christi, you're in charge. Take him, hug him.
That's our assignments. We'll go.
Yes. I'm not letting you go.
Film that too. Y'all got to get some check-ins and stuff. I want to see what kind of popcorn he eats and
yes,
the whole Jordan thing. Like I'm in the movie with
y'all
Jordan.
got to be mad. Me and David on a tour. We're gonna start it. We're gonna do a TikTok movie tour.
Nice.
The two of us.
Yes.
Channel of just.
It's a date. I love it. Well, guys, this is the end of our show. We thank you, David. Thank you for joining us. As always, Hilton, Christi, you guys rock my world. I wouldn't want to talk about any of this stuff with anybody else. And I'm so glad I got to bring in David, because he is my other Marvel buddy. So it's like, this is making my little blerdy heart explode. So yes.
He's my David now.
Yeah. You have been stolen, David. I'm going to loan you out to my friends, because they're amazing. And I share. So guys, tune in next week. We're going to have some amazing conversations. I'm going to get some counseling to help me over this David thing. And we love you. You're watching the BLERD Official Podcast, the BOP. We'll see you next time. Bye.
every Tuesday for a new episode of the BOP, the BLERD Official Podcast.